Thank you everyone for joining today. We will kick this off today. We're going to talk about Blazor Code Gen with App Builder. We have about 30 minutes. What I'm going to do is kind of show you some new stuff. But before that, we have a few slides that I want to run through just to give you an update on what's happening. So my name is Jason Barris. I am always doing these webinars, so you probably know my name by now. And then, of course, Brian Lagunas is joining us today as well. He is going to man our chat and Q&A, but as chats and Q&A come in, I'll answer them live as well. So, if you have questions, use the chat bot or the chat box, use the Q&A box, and we will get to all of your questions as we run through this today. So today's agenda, we're going to look at Blazor support in App Builder. We've done a bunch of App Builder webinars, and up until now, it's been all about Angular code generation. And of course, everything, the number one feature request. So like what I mean to say is every webinar we've done, everyone's like, hey, what about Blazor? And while other things have come up like React sometimes or others, but Blazor has been this constant request from you out there. So we're gonna look at that today. We have a beta, and you can play with it yourself. And then you'll see in a couple slides what the plan is to ship everything and get it up to snuff. And then I'm also going to show you some other features that we have for grid and charts in App Builder with the Blazor controls. So good stuff to see today, pretty exciting. And we're excited to actually show this to you. So as I always start these webinars with, I really would like you guys to join the Discord channel. Discord is where the product team hangs out. It's where you can ask questions, you can get updates, get technical support. We don't care. It's super easy. Just click the link and I'll copy this link and paste it in the chat for everyone as well. But the goal is that, if you can jump on Discord and talk directly with a product team guy because you have a feature request, you have a problem, a complaint, can't figure something out, that's the way to do it. And if you log in, you can scroll through and see some of the stuff that's happened over the last few weeks or the last few months. But we also post new information there. So as I get like new videos done, as we do different things, you'll get that at Discord. There's a bunch of ways to do this. We could have done Slack, we could have done Teams, we could have done whatever, but Discord is like universal. Pretty much everyone can use it. If you're a Slack company, you probably will not be able to use Teams and vice versa. So anyway, that's where you want to go. And Rick, I was unable to join Discord and their tech help was no help. Okay, I'm not sure about that. But maybe send me an email and we can figure it out. It's a link that you just sign up for, jasonb@infragistics.com. And it's a universal link. So this link should never expire. So if anyone can actually click this, and in fact, I'll just copy it in the chat right now. You should be able to just register. I'm no expert at that registration process. But yeah, you should be able to jump in and get what you need. All right, so let's swap this. So then next up, looking at the roadmap. So we've been talking about Blazor controls. So I have a slightly updated list, but anyway, this release has a bunch of Blazor controls, and then we're going to continuously deliver more Blazor controls to App Builder and to the product, like every day, every week. So we'll just be adding more and more and more. In fact, today we added 3 more controls, and I have a slide on what the roadmap looks like here. If you are looking at something like Adobe XD and you want to use that feature, we are waiting on Adobe to approve the plugin. So we have to go through this process on the Adobe side, which has been going on now for like a couple months just because of their system. But if you want to use our Adobe XD plugin, which is basically you open up XD, you say create app, and it just takes whatever you've designed with the design system and creates an app in App Builder, please let me know. Shoot me an email or pop it into the chat, and we'll get you the Adobe XD plugin. Of course, we have a Sketch plugin already. Swagger support is was going to ship at the end of this year. We've pushed it out to early January because we're a little bit behind on getting Blazor done. So Swagger support will ship early January. And a Swagger support, if you don't know, means that you can create a web API, an ASP.NET Core app, or really anything. It doesn't matter, Java. And Swagger generates the API definition for get, posts, etc. puts. We'll ingest that in App Builder, and then we'll auto generate all the code for all your CRUD activity through App Builder. So then you don't have to write any data access code. And then currently inside of App Builder, we use FlexGrid. We are also going to update that to CSS Grid. That'll ship in early January as well. So the roadmap for Q1, bunch of stuff here, but the left-hand side is basically the rest of the controls that aren't in the App Builder today for Blazor. So right now, if you want to do a dialogue, it's not going to work in Blazor, but it'll work in Angular, right? So we've had this out in Angular for a bunch of months. Now we're moving everything to Blazor. And so it's just a path on getting all of the Angular stuff in the toolbox into a Blazor component. And at the same time, we're also doing React and web components. So after we get Blazor code generation done, we will be doing React code generation. So then you basically cover all the bases, and web components will be in there as well. So the way that we're approaching this is all of the components that are in Angular, like a tooltip, like an action strip, like a chip, we are removing the dependency on Angular, and we're creating web components, and a web component is just a web standard. There's no framework involved. They just render in the browser. And then we are generating a native C# API around those components, and then they are the components. So it's basically what Microsoft is doing with their Blazor controls. They start with web components, and they generate a native C# API. We talked to them about this about 2 years ago. They thought it was a great idea. So that's what we did, and now that's what they're doing, which is pretty cool. And then on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll just see a bunch of other stuff that we're shipping in Q1. You know, it's everything about App Builder is designed to reduce the amount of code that you need to write. So we don't want you to write code. We're going to keep adding features that remove the dependency of you having to do code. So the big features here for me would be something like master detail. So I've done webinars on doing master detail, and that's wiring up your own code, but we're going to automatically do that with a click and drag and drop inside App Builder. Being able to do your own custom controls, that's going to all be wired up, and you'll be able to do that right inside of App Builder. And then a big one is doing Azure DevOps. So being able to sync not just with GitHub, but with Azure DevOps. So here we are in the Blazor preview. You can see what is working today. So you're going to see this URL, and I'll paste it in there. It's basically a sandbox. So you can log in. It's our test site. You know, eventually it's going to go away once we merge this into production, and that's going to happen in January, probably in December. The first week in December, we're going to merge everything that we have done into production. And then from there, we are just going to continue to update production. So right now, this is what's like a staging server, but you can log in with your Infragistics ID and you can create an app. So I'm going to show you what to do today to try this out. These are the controls that work today: badge, icon, checkbox, avatar, input group, list, button, link, blah, 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 blah. All these work. What I recommend is if you're going to play with this yourself, there's a people app sample, use that sample. If you use like the travel app and the other ones, you're going to run into problems. Or go ahead and start dragging and dropping your own. Just use this list of controls. And let's see how this will paste inside of inside the chat. So there you go. It's in the chat, and you can copy that to Notepad and do it yourself, or have it yourself, you know, for when you try it out. And of course, if you haven't tried App Builder, you're going to see today, it's a cloud-based WYSIWYG. Our idea is a low-code tool where you still have to write code, but you're going to get all the source code in basically a pixel-perfect design. So we've done surveys, we've done the research, this can save up to 80% of the time that you would normally spend doing all this layout and CSS yourself. And the fact that we have a bunch of templates that will kickstart your development also helps. And then, of course, we're just continuing to add more and more templates. So let's go ahead and get started. One thing I will highlight again is if I go to GitHub, Ignite UI App Builder, and here's the App Builder repo. We've got the changelog, the README, and the roadmap. So you'll always be able to see what's in what's latest in the changelog. You'll be able to look at the README, which will kind of get you started. And then you'll also be able to see the roadmap, which will basically tell you what I just said in those slides. So basically all the stuff that we're going to be shipping. Now, the other cool thing I didn't mention is the standalone app builder experience. What you're going to have is we're making this into an Electron app. So you can download this and it'll end up being in your taskbar, and it's an app unto itself. So when you log in, you're inside of this application, which is the app builder, and it's still going back and forth with the cloud, but you don't have to worry about having browser windows open, accidentally closing stuff, etc. So two things. I'm going to click here, this Blazor Sandbox link, and I'm going to log in with my Infragistics ID. This demo sandbox, you can try it out yourself. I'll paste the link in a minute. But if you just want to use the production version of App Builder, what you need to do is go to infragistics.com, and at infragistics.com, underneath the main menu, just click App Builder. And now you're at the App Builder homepage. Click Sign In. And then you're prompted with the sign in that I just went through, but I was already logged in, so it kind of did it for me. And then what you should do is click New App. And then once you're in New App, you've got all these options. So you've got sample apps, the default layouts, or you can import your sketch designs from here. Like I said, if you want XD, go ahead and email me for that. So I will paste this in as requested into the chat. So there you go, appbuilder.indigo design. So that's the production version. So if I go ahead and open up the people app here, I'm going to click try sample. Now I'm inside of the app builder. There's some help that pops up. I'll close this guy out, but you can see that I've got all my screens and all my components, and I got the DOM and everything here on the left-hand side. The difference between this and the sandbox is that this is only working with Angular. So I can either publish this right to GitHub or I can download the zip file. But the idea is I click preview. This is a real live preview of the app that was designed. Whoops, if I click preview again and I flick over to code view, I can slide this over and you can see the HTML, TypeScript, and CSS for every page. And let's say you just want to copy some of this and stick it in your own app. You know, you can right click, copy, and paste that in. But, you know, the goal is you can preview this or you can just download the entire application. Now, for what we're going to talk about today, we are going to look at the sandbox. So this is app builder demo-sandbox.indigo design. I'll paste that in a minute. But what you can do when you log in is you'll be prompted as well for a new app. You'll have the same dialogue that you just saw in the production. So I've got sample apps, default layouts, import designs. What you should do is click on the people app. So click try sample on the people app. And now you've created a sample of the people app. Over in the upper right, we've added a new option, Angular or Blazor. So the whole point of App Builder is that the design surface is framework agnostic. Like there is no like, oh, you must say, I'm going to build a Blazor app and then you design a Blazor app, or I must build an Angular app and then you build an Angular app. No, what we're doing here is this is a common application model based off of a common application model, or basically a schema for UI controls. So if I grab something like the avatar is not like, oh, this is an Angular avatar. It's just an avatar. And now that avatar on the common app model is represented as a JSON object. And then I can choose if I want that to be, spit out as an Angular application or a Blazor application. So there's no need for you to say, well, you know what, Jason said that, you know, all of these controls aren't going to come until next January. Well, don't worry about that. Just design your app, get it done. And when you generate Angular, it's going to be 100% there. When you generate Blazor, every day it's going to get a little bit better until we release all the controls. So all these controls will end up being Angular, Blazor, React web component. So remember that list I pasted in is the list that works today in App Builder with Blazor. So now if I click preview, I've clicked Blazor, I click preview, I've got my code view showing, and you can see here, this is a Razor page. So I've got at page /home. I've got all of the control definitions, divs and whatnot. And then I've got my code tag here. And then I've got my CSS for the layout of this particular page. And that's mostly what the CSS is going to be for, layout and a little bit of color definition. So at this point, if I go back to edit and I don't want to publish to GitHub, I'm just going to download the zip file and I'm going to open up this people app. I'm going to extract this to people app 5. There's my people app 5. And let's go ahead and double click our C# project file. Opens this up. And what we're generating here is a .NET 6 WebAssembly application. What we're going to add in the next few weeks is the ability for you to say, I want a WebAssembly app or I want a Blazor server app. It's going to be completely up to you. So if I go here to pages, here's home Razor, which is what you just saw. Here's my info.razor, which is what you just saw. If I go to the program, you can see we've registered the components. Now, if you're a very savvy Razor or .NET guy, you know that you can just register the entire Ignite UI Blazor. You don't need to specify modules, but what we're doing here is we are making sure that you only compile what you need. So it's really up to you how you want that to work. And then if I go to www.root index.html, this is the Ignite UI reference for the themes. And then this link here, Ignite UI Blazor app bundle, we don't need that anymore. That's just a little legacy in there. Doesn't hurt it, doesn't help it. But I'll save this guy. We'll go ahead and run this WebAssembly app. It's going to build. And like magic, you've essentially got a pixel perfect representation of your application. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So here we go. So now this is a Blazor app running in Visual Studio as a WebAssembly. You can see that we've wired up the navigation. We're using a specific material like-ish theme here. We have a Bootstrap theme as well as a Fluent theme. Some of those are just a little bit wonky right now. We're kind of working through them. But the idea is all of this is Blazor code. Now, the way this works is I just downloaded the zip file. If you were doing something, go back to the application and modify it, you'd re-download it and kind of do it all over again. So if I close this out, I'll go back to my app builder. And let's say I want to add a new page. So this is like the My Info page. I can duplicate this page like so, and I can call this, another page. Whoops. And now I can modify this. I can edit things. I can delete things. I can kind of do whatever I want. So all of this WYSIWYG drag and drop. So what I want to do is actually delete a bunch of this stuff here. In fact, I think I'm going to delete this whole thing. I'm going to delete this like so. And then this guy here, I'm going to delete all this. And what I want to do is add a new control, but I want to maintain this layout. So the nice thing is you can continue to modify these screens and, basically do whatever you want, or you can just start a brand new screen and start dragging and dropping controls. 9 times out of 10, it's easier to modify. So because we're using this layout, this guy here, I want its width to be 100%. And so now it's going to take up this whole space. And then we can go to the toolbox here. There's a couple tricks. If you've been watching any of our webinars, you can drag and drop stuff in. So I can say, you know, this is a new page like so. Or if I didn't want to do that, I'll delete it. I can hit Control E, which brings up this quick search thing. And, you know, as I start typing, things pop up. So I want to do a text. I can do text and I can do the same thing. And I'll just say reports like so. And then down here, let's say that we want to do, we'll just see how this works. Control E again, and we'll do a grid. And I'm going to add a grid. So now I've got this data grid here. Let's make his width 100% to the container. We'll make his height 100% to the container. And so now I've got a grid. In fact, we're going to fix this. I'm going to say it's 400 pixels. That'll be better. Now, this is what doesn't work. So if you try this at home, I'm just going to tell you what doesn't work. Now, I added a grid and I go over to data and I'm going to say, show me the customers. Perfect. Looks great. Now, I'm going to swap this over to Angular. I'm going to click preview. And on this page, what you're going to see is the IGX grid with all the definition and all the columns and all this stuff. Well, now if I flick it over to Blazor, what you're going to see is just the IGB data grid. There's nothing there. The reason is we haven't gotten to it yet. So data binding, according to our man who I talked to this morning working on this, Damian, he said, hey, you know what? I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that to get that in either by the end of this week or early next week. So, you know, you can, you know, expect that to happen. So Christian says full round tripping. Yeah, that's where you would use GitHub. So, you know, I totally disagree that it's a dead end road, because let's say you have a process of our design team is designing and then we need to save this. So, you know, you could still get massive time savings with drag and drop. But if you use GitHub and you merge to GitHub, then you're using the capability of your source code repository, which is why we need to add Azure DevOps and maybe down the road Bitbucket and some other ones. But yeah, the workflow, and I've done webinars on this, is using you know, a tool like that. There's never going to be the holy grail. I mean, no one's figured that out yet, and I don't think we're going to be able to. But I'm assuming you do design work, you're doing most of your screens, and then you are writing code, and then you update those screens. So if there's a huge update, yeah, you know, and you're doing download zip, you're kind of screwed. It's like you got to manage that on your own. If you're using GitHub, you can selectively merge. But what we are doing to make this easier is a couple things. So right now, when I merge to GitHub, and in fact, let's go to production and I'll show you how this works. I'm going to sign into App Builder, and we do have a webinar on this. And I'll just open up new app. I'll do team collaboration. And I'll just very quickly click publish to GitHub. All right, so new or existing repository, webinar, new one. You can do a description. You can make it public or private. I'm going to just go ahead and hit create repository. So now we went off, we did all this work, and we're going to publish this. So now GitHub has a copy of this. So this is one change, Christian, that we are going to make, which is going to make this a lot easier. And I you know, you're not wrong. I'm just saying, you know. So what we did here is we create this repo, and the branch is the main branch or the master branch. So now I've got 5 people on my team, and we're all committing to master, or we're doing like a bunch of pull requests based on feature updates. So if I take this and I copy this and I open this up in Visual Studio Code, and then I start mucking around with the UI, I'm actually mucking around with master. So what I need to do is put this to an existing GitHub repo and push my UI changes to like a UI branch. And then we have the UI branch. And then the UI branch is then getting merged into master as we're making changes, or we're rebasing master every time everyone else merges in their changes, and then we can be selective. It's not perfect, but it does work. And we're going to make that change in App Builder and give you the option of saying, hey, do you just want to make this a pull request? We'll create a master branch, and then we'll create this pull request, and that'll be a lot easier for you to manage instead of you now having to do it yourself. But, you know, everything in time. Yeah, no way you're going to be doing download zips unless you're doing demos or you just want to not use GitHub. But that's also why we want to do Azure DevOps. All right, so highlight again. The IGB data grid is the Blazor data grid, but this is not going to show up. So let me go back and I'm going to do an edit, and I'm going to also go back to my pages here, and I'm going to duplicate this one again. And I am going to call this reports page, or just reports is fine. All right, I'm going to get rid of this guy, delete, and I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right here. And I'm going to call this, put something here. And I'm just kind of showing you a little bit of a workaround here if you want to try stuff today, because you don't want to wait for next week or December 1st when it's in production. All the App Builder functionality works. So I'm doing copy paste. I duplicated a page. If I really wanted to, I could just go here and I could start dragging and dropping, and I could start creating stuff, and I could do whatever I want. But I am going to make this demo somewhat successful if these things work, and then go to Discord. And once you start running into your own issues, let me know. But I'm going to leave this at Blazor. I am going to download the zip file. Again, it's people app. This, you can see I've done this a few times. I'm going to extract this to this folder, people app 5.1, and I'm going to open up people app 5. And we're very excited to have you along on this journey. So please let us know feedback. Obviously, yeah, Christian, you're right on the download zip. GitHub does work. In fact, GitHub works with Blazor. I'm just doing download zip right now in this demo. So if you open up the sandbox and you publish to GitHub with Blazor, it works. There's no doubt about it. I did it yesterday. But for this demo, just to make it easy, I'm doing it this way. Now I'm going to go to my pages, and remember another page here, and I had the IGB data grid. Well, what I'm going to show you is something really slick that will be part of the App Builder. But I'm going to do it manually right now. So what we did with the grid is, of course, you can create objects and then load those objects with URLs like a web API. And that's, you know, your enterprise-y type app. A lot of times, though, when you're doing a prototype, you just want to get data into your app, and you want real data. So what we did with the grid and the chart is we added a little bit of cool capability here. And it looks like I got a copy paste error. So let me just add this data source guy here. Oh, there's an extra parenthesis. Sorry about that. I'm going to copy this. And in my IGB data grid, let me add a few spaces and let me paste this in. And what the heck? Is this remote data with JSON? Yep, that goes there. Not sure why that is not the right color. Very strange. My copy paste isn't working, but anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll probably get an error here, and we will deal with it when that comes up. So anyway, what we did is we added this remote with URI feature to the grid. And all I'm doing here is I'm passing an actual URL that has a JSON object with it. So if you've been watching our webinars in the last, month or so, maybe even a little bit longer, you know about excel2json.io. So excel2json.io is a tool that we built, which will allow you to, for example, upload a Excel file. And then once you upload that Excel file, we auto-generate all the JSON for you, which is totally slick. So now this is uploading, and you can see here, I've got all my JSON on the right-hand side. I click this over here, and my JSON is on the right-hand side. Here's my employees table. Then you can do one of two things. You can download the JSON, or you can get a link to this specific JSON file. Totally cool. So now I can copy this, and I can just use it right within the grid and chart with no problems here. So let's go back to our application, and I'm going to build this. I don't know why this is messed up. Let's go ahead and do a quick build. If not, I might have to open up another app really quick. It says it succeeded. I don't think this is going to succeed, but we're going to see in a minute. And then as a backup, we're going to go over here. Open up this guy just to be safe. All right. Now, the other thing I noticed, and this might, if someone's an expert, I'll let this guy open. If someone's an expert on what's happening with WASM files, is when you're logged in, you always get this weird error message in Edge, and I'm not sure why. Okay, so here you can see I've got home, my info, people, my files. I didn't actually add links to this, and I'm going to copy this one here because this one does seem to be right. Data source equals. So yeah, this is just demo gods in progress here. But let's go ahead and look at one more feature inside of App Builder. So I added 2 pages, right? I added another page, and I added reports. Now on the master view up here, you'll notice I have a button group. And what we do in App Builder, in order for you to communicate back and forth with links, and we add all of the navigation stuff for you, is we have routing built in, and we do that through this interactions option. So a couple things here. The people in my files, I'm going to tell you that they are default. So I've got people in my files, they're not disabled anymore. And then for interactions, I'm going to do an on-click interaction. So here on click, what do I want to do? We've got navigate, open, close, show, hide. I want to navigate to another page. So that'll be one of the pages that I added. And then on my files, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click an interaction. I'm going to pick a view, and I'm going to go to reports. So now I've just built all of this navigation in. If I click preview and I'm clicking between these guys, you can see that all of my navigation works now. So again, we're just generating all of this code for you and kind of doing all the hard work. So let's go through this real quick. The beautiful thing is when you're prototyping and testing, all of this happens really, really fast. So let's extract this out. Number 2, open up this app, and there's Visual Studio. And I'm going to go back to my IGB data grid, and I already have a few URLs set up. I've got here for another page. When I paste in this grid, what you're going to see is like so. And what the heck? It's not working. I wonder if IGB. Do
you have a closing tag?
Am I missing that?
I would check.
Oh, okay, not here, right? So maybe this is going to be the issue. Another copy paste mistake. Yeah, it's weird. You know, the weird thing is, Brian's on the line here, is this worked. So let me just copy this again, paste it in again. Yeah, really crazy. But the good thing is we have, now, of course, this is all demo, so it works yesterday, but not today. So let's see what this guy's doing here. This might be a total failure on this. Oh, wait, add another page. No. All right. Well, total failure because even my other demo inside of this page slash another page. Hold on. Let's go to the one that we've got here. This one should work. And I don't know if I shouldn't need that using statement, but
You should, if you haven't added it to your global, you'll need it.
I think it auto added it yesterday, but anyway, I'll try that in a sec. But here's the point. So the same exact line of code that's not working in my sample. Sorry about that, everyone. I know how annoying that is in a webinar. It's working here. So this is my IG data grid. This is the URL that I'm pointing to. And in this case, I just have the grid height set to 100. So automatically I get this without writing any more than an attribute. Now, the other cool thing is because the data grid already has defaults built in, you get all of these defaults for free inside the grid. So in this case, let's say I just want to look at sales assistance, all of the filtering works. I can do a select all. Again, I can apply. I can do things like column moving. Well, let's see, I almost with a little bit of help there. I can do things like sorting. I can move things. I can pin columns to the left or to the right. I can add column summaries. So everything that you get here ends up being baked into the grid. You don't even have to think about it. It's all for free and it kind of works perfect. So this is what's neat about this capability. And what I'll do just for the heck of it is if I didn't have it in my global using, which is possible, but it gets auto-generated. Let's just add this at the beginning to one of our people apps here. And let's see if that lights up the page. No, something went wrong here with something. I'm not sure what, but anyway, you get the point. And by the way, the chart will do the same thing. So if you have a IGB category chart and you just pass it a URL, it'll automatically load up your data. You don't have to worry about that. So when we do the next webinars, we're going to continue to show capabilities like this. But the nice thing is it'll all be baked into the app builder. Like you won't have to write any extra code. So data binding, like I said, is either coming at the end of this week or early next week. And at that time, when you do add a grid, go over to the grid property side and pick whatever file you want. And if you're not familiar with App Builder, I'll click over here to the little data icon, and you can add your own data sources. So here, if I add a REST API and I go back to my Excel to JSON app, and let's go ahead and do something like customers, and I'm going to go ahead and get link. I'll copy this link and I'll go back to App Builder, and I'm going to call this, test webinar link. I'm going to add a URL, add my URL in, and this is going to be for a get. I'm going to click done. Now I have my data here. I can click select data. Let's do a select all. If the app builder doesn't understand the type of property, you can tell it, string, number, etc. And then here I can call this customers table just like that. And I click done. And now over in the data sources window, I've got my test webinar link with my customers table. And then over here, you'll see test webinar link with my customers table, and I can bind my data right away. So that's the whole way that we're doing data binding. And then we're just going to continue to give you different options on how that surfaces inside of the application. And something like Angular, if I do my publish to GitHub again, and I'll show you this real quick, we'll create this repo and we'll go look at it. We'll end up with something relatively similar for Blazor, but let's upload these files. And let's go to the repository here. So if I go to source, you'll see we've got the app folder and we've got services. And if I go to my test webinar link, we've got public get customers table. And we're going to look at this as an observable inside of your app. So now if I go back to the, I guess that would have been another page here. I go to another page, component.typescript, and we are doing an ng on init, and we're subscribing the grid to that observable data that's coming in from a service. So all of this is happening in the correct way. We're not doing it in some way that you probably wouldn't want to then use in your app. And then you can customize this and create your own business objects or whatever, but it's all good code. All right, so with that, we're way over on time. This was supposed to be a 30-minute webinar, but my bugs delayed things a bit there. I'm really sorry about that. We'll figure it out. But if you do want to try this now, if you already haven't grabbed the URL, take a look here, and I'll paste this in. appbuilder.sandbox. Let me get to everyone here. Paste. There you go. Yep, you got it, Christian. You got it. Does the data grid support hierarchical data? So we don't have the hierarchical grid in there yet, but it will be. Oh, are you saying the Blazor grid support hierarchical data? It supports a couple levels of hierarchy. It supports grouping. And then with that grouping, you can hide the grouped field. So it's like hierarchy in the same field. But for Blazor, we don't actually have a hierarchical grid per se. Wrapping. So yeah, it's should have worked there. Albina, sorry, it worked in the other app. Don't know what the deal is. In the last demo, so yeah, that last demo, the one I was showing you that actually worked, was a server app. So when we published this last week, there were the generated code were server apps, and we changed it now to default to .NET 6 WASM apps. And the next builds, you're going to see an option on Blazor WASM or Blazor server. So we'll give you the ability to do it. How do you integrate security? So we integrate security through your REST API. You can add security. And then through security, you'll have your Swagger, when we generate the Swagger, when you generate Swagger and we ingest it, whatever security you have through your data access will be that way. But yeah, let me know what other security thing are you talking about? Something beyond data security? We don't do much about that now. I think in the future, we'll do some things like, for example, if I go to the travel app, we've already designed a bunch of screens here that have like logins and resets and stuff like that. So, you can just copy these and paste them into your app. But in terms of, do we connect to like a Google API? No, we don't do anything like that right now. Yeah, OAuth and all that. We don't really muck with that yet. I think eventually we'll get there. But what I'm saying about App Builder is we do all the screen design and we do most of the data binding. And then we're going to continue to remove those things like authentication and authorization that you do now into your own apps. But right now we're just not there. Probably next year sometime. But when you're using this dialog for data access, whoops, I'm sorry. When you're using your data dialog for data access, there'll continue to be security options here in terms of the data source and whatnot. Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions we have, I think. Let me just double check. All right, great. So we want you to try this today. So go ahead and try it today. Before I get to that slide, the next YouTube Live will be next Wednesday. And what we're going to continue to do on YouTube Live is show new features and show kind of what's next, and then preview stuff that we're going to show on the webinar. So we'll do a little bit of theming and branding, but I'll also show you all of the new features in the app builder, the new controls, hopefully the data binding for the grid, things like that. And that should all work really nicely. And then, yeah, here's the URL, infragistics.com, products app builder. That's where you want to go to get all the information to, start messing with it today. All the links here are in the chat. And yeah, we really want you to give us feedback as you start exploring this. And that's why I keep saying, please join up on the Discord, because that's a great place where we can, you can talk to our team. And yeah, Christian, I'd love to see you up on the Discord. It sounds like you've got a lot of experience building apps like this, and anything that you can give us feedback on to improve the product is going to help not only you, but then everyone else. So really appreciate it. And I think we answered all the questions. So I really appreciate it, everyone. You will get an email to this slide deck and to the webinar within the next 24 hours. And you'll also get a reminder for the next webinars as they come up. So thanks, everyone. Really appreciate your time today, and we'll talk to you soon.